If you're about to PCS to Patrick Space Force Base and you're trying to decide between Cocoa Beach, Merritt Island, and a few other options, there's a geographic detail that will save you from making a very frustrating mistake. Where you live on Merritt Island matters, and most buyers don't find that out until after they've already signed. If you're serious about moving to Florida Space Coast, this channel is for you. I'm Carrie Leota, a waterfront and relocation specialist on Florida Space Coast, and today we're going to go deep on Merritt Island. Before we get into it, let me tell you exactly who this video is designed for, because if you match, you'll want to watch the whole video. This video is for you if you're relocating from out of state and Merritt Island keeps showing up on your research. It's for you if you're PCS-ing to Patrick Space Force Base and you're trying to figure out which side of the water actually makes sense for your commute. It's for you if you're an aerospace buyer, maybe coming from Houston, Huntsville, or California for a role at SpaceX, Blue Origin, or one of the Kennedy Space Center contractors, and you want to understand this island before you start touring homes. It's for you if you're a waterfront buyer who wants to understand what waterfront actually means here, because not all canal front properties work the same way. And it's for you if you're a serious decision maker. If that is you, stay with me. And later in this video, I'm going to walk you through the canal depth and bridge clearance piece, because that is the thing that trips up waterfront buyers on this island more than anything else, so stay with me for that. Also, if you're in the research mode right now and you want to ask questions and hear from people who already live here, I run a Facebook group called Moving to Brevard County, Florida. It's a mix of people thinking about making the move, people who already did, and people who just want to understand the area better. Members share real experiences and answer each other's questions. So just scan the QR code on the screen to join. Let's zoom out for a second. Here's what's actually happening when people research Merritt Island. They go to Google, they go to ChatGPT, they go to Perplexity, and they get a version of the same answer. Merritt Island is a wonderful community in Brevard County with beautiful waterways and proximity to the Kennedy Space Center. That sentence is technically accurate and practically useless, because Merritt Island is not one thing. It is a 26-mile long landmass with multiple distinct communities, dramatically different price points, and very different commute profiles depending on where exactly you buy and where exactly you work. A home in North Merritt Island and a home in South Merritt Island are both on Merritt Island, but they're functionally different decisions. Different commutes, different access, different neighborhood character. Most people don't realize this until after already in deep research. So what I want to do today is give you the framework you actually need, one that accounts for your commute, your lifestyle, and if you're a waterfront buyer. Let's break this down into 3 parts. Part 1, what Merritt Island actually is and why the geography matters more than the name. Part 2, the commutes, real numbers for military and aerospace buyers. And Part 3, waterfront on Merritt Island, what you need to verify before you make an offer. So Merritt Island sits between the Indian River Lagoon to the west and the Banana River Lagoon to the east. It runs about 26 miles from tip to tip, roughly centered between Titusville in the north and Melbourne in the south. The northern third of the island is the Merritt Island National Wildlife Refuge. That land is never going to be developed. It's one of the most biologically diverse refuges in the continental US, and it creates a hard boundary on what's available. Residential communities are in the central and southern portion. But here's what changes everything. North Merritt Island and South Merritt Island are essentially different housing markets. The neighborhoods closest to Kennedy Space Center are not the same neighborhoods closest to Patrick Space Force Base. Those are at opposite ends of the island. Let's talk commutes, because this is where I see buyers make the most avoidable mistakes. Patrick Space Force Base is at the southern end of Merritt Island and just east of Cocoa Beach. From North Merritt Island, you're looking at roughly 20 minutes or maybe a little bit longer depending on the traffic. Traffic on the beach line is generally light. From South Merritt Island, it's just about a 5-minute drive. If you buy a North Merritt Island above 528, your commute to Patrick extends significantly. We're talking 30, 40, sometimes 50 minutes, and that's not catastrophic, but it matters over 3 to 4 years of an assignment. Know that geography before you start touring. If you want the absolute shortest commute to Patrick, Cocoa Beach is closer, sometimes under 10 minutes, but Merritt Island consistently wins on square footage, lot size, and waterfront access. For military families who intend to stay here after the assignment ends, Merritt Island typically offers better long-term value. Kennedy Space Center, SpaceX, Blue Origin, the Aerospace campus, they're all at the northern end of Merritt Island and into Cape Canaveral. From South Merritt Island, 35 to 45 minutes to Kennedy Space Center. From North Merritt Island, that drops 20 to 30 minutes. Here's something that doesn't show up in any commute calculator. Kennedy Space Center has multiple access points and multiple campuses. If you're a contractor with a badge access to a specific facility, the gate you use may shift your ideal home location by several miles. That is worth figuring out before you start your search, not after you've already narrowed it down to a neighborhood. I've worked with aerospace buyers who assumed they'd be commuting to Kennedy Space Center, and they were right, technically. But the specific facility they were badged to was on the opposite end of the campus from where they expected to enter. It changed the math on their ideal location entirely. If this is helpful so far and you want real numbers instead of headlines, neighborhood level commute data, actual flood insurance scenarios, specific canal access information, make sure you're subscribed. That's the kind of detail I cover on this channel consistently. Stay with me because this part is the one that matters most for anyone considering waterfront on Merritt Island. And it is the part most buyers don't think to ask about until it's too late. Most people don't realize this. Not all waterfront is equal on Merritt Island. And I don't mean price or view quality, I mean functional access. Whether your boat can actually get somewhere meaningful from behind that house. There are two things you need to check on every waterfront property here: canal depth and bridge clearance. Canal depth. The Indian River Lagoon and the Banana River average about 3 to 5 feet across much of their navigable surface. Residential canals cutting off those lagoons vary consistently. Some run 4 to 8 feet with clean access. Others have silted in over decades and now sit at 2 to 3 feet at low tide. If you own a boat with more than 18 inches of draft, which includes most inboard powered vessel, 24 feet or larger, canal depth is not a minor inconvenience, it is a practical constraint. A boat that looks like it fits the dock may not be able to exit the canal, and this is very important. There's no official public database tracking residential canal depth across Merritt Island in real time. Your lender won't flag it. Your home inspector isn't looking for it. If you don't know to ask, nobody's going to tell you. Here's a protocol. Hire a licensed marine surveyor to take soundings in the specific canals behind any home you're seriously considering. It typically runs $300 to $500. If your boating lifestyle is part of why you're buying waterfront, this is a non-negotiable. Nautical charts can be found at charts.noaa.gov. They can give you approximate depths on the major waterways. It's worth checking out before you schedule a showing. The second piece is bridge clearance. Merritt Island has several fixed bridges. The NASA Causeway, the Merritt Island Causeway on 520, the Bennett Causeway on 528, and some residential canals have additional fixed bridges. Fixed bridges on Merritt Island typically run from about 11 to 22 feet of vertical clearance at high water. If you have a sailboat with 50-foot mast or you're running a tall sports fish with a tuna tower, some parts of the island simply won't work for your boat, regardless of canal depth. And here's the question very few buyers think to ask before they start touring. Are you buying into the Indian River Lagoon system or the Banana River Lagoon system? They have different access to the intercoastal and different routes to the Atlantic Inlet and Port Canaveral. That distinction affects your fishing access, your offshore runtime, and your day-to-day boating. Most people ask about the house. The questions that actually protect them is whether their boat can get somewhere meaningful from behind it. Let me give you a concrete example of how this plays out. A buyer comes to Merritt Island. They want waterfront. They find a canal front home that looks right, dock in place, good view, solid price. They're excited. They make an offer. It gets accepted. What nobody verified was that the canal had silt in it. At low tide, there was maybe 18 inches of water at the canal mouth. The boat they'd been keeping on their previous property, we'll say a 26-foot center console, it couldn't exit the canal at low tide. They found this out after closing. That's not a dramatic story. There's no villain. The listing agent disclosed what they knew. The home inspector checked the house. The buyer just didn't know to ask the right question. It's a consequence of not knowing what to verify on waterfront property in this specific market. Fix is straightforward. A marine survey before you close, not after. Country Club Estates in Sykes Creek, the southern portion of the island, roughly below 528, has the highest concentration of canal front homes with genuine lagoon access. Sykes Creek is a major waterway connecting to the Banana River with reasonable depth for most recreational power boats. Canal front homes run from the 500s and up for older concrete block homes on a narrow canal, up to 1.2 million plus for renovated or newer construction with lagoon frontage and lift-equipped docks. North of 528, the character shifts. Larger lots, more agricultural pockets, proximity to the wildlife refuge. It's quieter and more rural for SpaceX and NASA workers who want to minimize their commute and don't need walkability to retail. North Island properties can offer real value. You're trading convenience for proximity. And a note on Vieira worth mentioning. A lot of aerospace workers split the difference. They work on the island, but they live in Vieira, about 15 minutes away. Vieira is a master planned community and has newer construction, strong schools, and a very different lifestyle than Merritt Island. No waterfront, but strong resale infrastructure and a lot of community amenities. If you're comparing options, it belongs in the conversation. So here's what we covered. Merritt Island is not a single neighborhood. It's a 26-mile island with distinct communities that serve very different buyer needs. North and south are not interchangeable decisions. Commutes depend on exactly where you buy and exactly where you work. Patrick buyers should prioritize south. Kennedy Space Center and SpaceX buyers may have more reason to look north. And if you're a contractor, figure out which gate you're badging into before you start narrowing your search. Waterfront on Merritt Island requires due diligence that most buyers don't know to do. Canal depth, bridge clearance, and lagoon connectivity are the three things to verify before you make an offer. A marine survey is not optional if keeping a boat is a part of why you're buying. And the comparison between Merritt Island, Cocoa Beach, and Vieira is not one size fits all. It depends on your commute, your lifestyle, and your timeline. More value per dollar is often on Merritt Island, but the right pocket of the island is the part that matters. If you're considering moving to Florida's Space Coast, whether that's Merritt Island, Cocoa Beach, Vieira, or somewhere else in Brevard, and you want clarity based on your actual situation, your budget, and your timeline, reach out. My contact information is in the description. Feel free to shoot me a text. I work with military families, aerospace relocators, and out-of-state buyers who want a clear picture of what ownership here actually looks like before they commit. So if you found this useful, subscribe. And don't forget to join my private Facebook group called Moving to Brevard County. Just scan the QR code on the screen, and I will see you in the next video.